Today we're going to talk about a balanced diet, what it means to eat a balanced diet, and what different types of foods and vitamins and nutrients are in actually a balanced diet. So what is a balanced diet? Well, a balanced diet is basically the foods that you need to eat in the amounts that you need to eat and the combinations you need to eat in order to be healthy. To have a healthy diet means that basically you're eating all the foods that you need to help your body remain balanced and help it to be able to function as best as it possibly can. A balanced diet has all the nutrients in it that it needs to keep your body healthy and maintained. So what is in a balanced diet? Well, some people try to sit there and count calories or count grams of fat and grams of this and grams of that. But what most scientists have found is that you don't really need to do that. You just need to make sure that you're eating the right types of foods and the right amounts. And these are the amounts that the USDA recommends. That's the US FDA recommends, the United States Food and Drug Administration. The amounts that are recommended in a balanced diet are basically having 6 to 11 portions a day of a high fiber complex carbohydrate. These complex carbohydrates are going to give your body the energy that it needs in order to maintain itself and do all of its functions. So you need about 6 to 11 portions of a complex carbohydrate, something high in fiber. Note, I didn't say simple carbohydrates. So eating 6 containers of cookies does not count as being a balanced diet. You have to actually good carbohydrates that are going to take a longer time to burn and therefore are going to give you energy throughout the day. And again, you need about 6 to 11 portions of those. Examples of these are whole wheat bread, whole wheat cereals, brown rice, whole wheat pasta, basically any kind of food that has a high fiber content. The next thing you need is fruits and vegetables. These are going to provide you with the vitamins and minerals and additional fiber that you need. You need to have 3 to 5 portions of each one of these categories a day. So 3 to 5 portions of fruit, 3 to 5 portions of vegetables. And examples of those again are carrots, romaine lettuce, corn, oranges, apples, and grapes. Along with all the other guys, basically fruits and vegetables. There's just too many to mention. Okay? And you want to make sure that you eat a variety of them. So you don't want to eat 5 portions of carrots every day nonstop for the next 3 years. Okay? You want to kind of mix it up and have a variety of them. The next thing is meat and fish. These are going to provide you with the protein you need for your tissues to grow and repair themselves and for you to grow properly. It's also going to help you build muscle. You need 2 to 3 portions a day of meat and fish, but they need to be low-fat meats and fishes. For instance, most types of fish will work. Chicken, game meats like buffalo meat or venison. They recommend that you stay away from fatty meats like hamburger meat that's got a lot of fat in it, steaks that have a lot of fat on them. Or if you are going to eat those, you at least make sure you buy them super lean so that they don't have a lot of fat on them. Now, if you are a vegetarian, you are not allowed to eat meat or you don't eat meat, in which case you would get a lot of the protein that you need from things like beans, lentils, peas, other types of beans. Nuts contain some protein in them, and so you would basically get all of your protein from those things if you were a vegetarian or if you are a vegetarian. Next thing, dairy. You need 2 to 3 portions of dairy a day to provide you with calcium and other minerals and vitamins. Again, they recommend low-fat dairy, so skim milk, no fat or low-fat yogurt, low-fat cheeses. Those types of things will give you the dairy that you need and the calcium that you need. And also, guys, a lot of really dark green vegetables actually contain a lot of calcium in them as well. Next thing you need a very small amount, use it very sparingly, of basically fatty foods and sugary foods a day. The fatty foods are used for cell membrane growth, and they are also used to provide that insulating layer of fat on your body to help keep you warm. So you do need some fatty foods, but you don't need a lot of them. They need to be used very sparingly. So examples of fatty foods would be chocolate, nuts, fatty meats like the hamburger, the steaks, fatty cheeses, plant oils like olive oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, and also things like butter. Guys, butter is considered to be in the fatty foods area. Now, it's important to note that in America, when we say portion, we tend to think of some humongous amount of food because most places you go, when they serve you a portion or a meal, you end up getting a gigantic plate of food. Um, In this case, though, a portion is not a gigantic amount of food. For instance, a portion of a complex carbohydrate could be a single slice of whole wheat toast, okay? Or a 1 cup of whole wheat cereal. Okay? A portion of a fruit could be an orange, an apple, a cup full of grapes, a cup full of carrots. Okay, so we're talking a small amount. Meats and fish, usually portions are about the size of your fist. So if you're eating a piece of meat or a piece of fish the size of your fist, that would be considered to be 1 portion. Dairy, same thing. We're not talking about a 52-ounce big gulp of milk in the morning as a portion. We're talking like an 8-ounce cup of milk, which isn't very much, really, if you think about it. So again, when we're talking portions in America, we think big. We think the 52-ounce big gulps and the Big Macs and the plate full of food that you get at the restaurant. The all-you-can-eat pasta at Olive Garden, that's a portion. Hey, but really, when they're talking portions in a diet, they're talking small amounts. Again, usually a portion is something about the size of your fist. If it's about the size of your fist, you can probably call it a portion. So how is a balanced diet normally displayed? Well, the United States Food and Drug Administration is a government organization that has been put into place to try to make sure that your food is safe to eat. And they have come up with a food pyramid that gives you an idea of what you should eat. Now, I will tell you, different people debate whether or not the food pyramid is actually a good diet or not. But the Cambridge book seems to follow this pyramid, and so I'm going to teach it to you as well. Please note that if you have different medical conditions, then you may not want to follow the food pyramid exactly. And for those cases, you'd want to talk to a doctor and see what the doctor said you should do. But all in all, this is what the Food and Drug Administration thinks that is a good balanced diet for us. And again, it's the same as the last page. At the bottom, you'll notice is the food that you should eat the most of. They say 6 to 11 servings of bread, cereal, rice, pasta, basically whole wheat foods. The next layer up, you should eat between 3 and 5, somewhere in there, vegetables, and 3 and 5 fruits a day, or 2 to 4 fruits a day. The next layer up, you eat 2 to 3 milks and yogurts, or 2 to 3 meats, poultry, and fishes a day. Notice that includes beans, eggs, and nuts, because nuts tend to have a lot of protein. And finally, at the very top, using very sparingly are your fats, your oils, and your sweets. Adding sugar and fat to things, you're supposed to do that very sparingly. So what happens if you don't eat a balanced diet? Well, you end up with malnutrition. Most people, when they think of malnutrition, they think of people who are starving, okay, and they're not getting enough nutrients. But honestly, malnutrition, you can have too few nutrients, or you can actually be malnourished and be considered to have too many nutrients. What that means is that means that people who are overweight could very likely be considered to be malnourished because they're getting too many nutrients, or they're getting too many of the wrong kinds of foods and not enough of the right kinds. And so malnutrition is basically if you have too few or too many nutrients. If you have too few nutrients, you can get a deficiency disease. Examples that you're going to read in your book are things like scurvy, where you don't get enough vitamin C and your gums bleed and you have circulatory problems. Anemia is another one. That's where you basically don't have enough iron in your blood in order to make good red blood cells. Too little high energy foods or too little food will basically cause your body, first of all, to burn all of the fat that it has for energy. So you'll end up burning fat. But then after that, your body will start to burn muscle. And so it'll basically eat away at your muscles. Your body eats away at your muscles to try to gain energy. This includes organ muscles such as heart muscles, kidney muscles, lung muscles. Basically, eventually, if you stop eating, your body will basically try to burn all of the muscle, including the organs and the organ muscles inside of yourself in order to keep you alive. It's not a good thing. It can lead to death, and in some cases it does. So it's important to make sure that you're eating a balanced diet and you're not denying yourself food. On the other end, too many nutrients. If you eat too much protein, your body basically breaks that protein down into carbohydrates, something called glycol, and it stores that in the liver, and it's not great for your liver because then your liver has to work harder to try to process that. Also, too much protein can be broken down into urea, and then it's excreted through the urine. And a lot of times if you do a urine test at your doctor for a physical, they may be checking to see if you have too much or too little protein. If you eat too much fat or too many carbohydrates, which will in your body will be converted into fat if it's not burned right away, this leads basically, guys, to being overweight or obesity. There's two different categories. There's overweight, which means you weigh more than you should, and then there's obesity, which means you weigh a lot more than you should, or that you should be considered to weigh. And obesity can lead to different diseases like heart disease, different types of cancers, and it can cause different health issues as well, diabetes and things like that. Again, guys, the key is to be balanced. You don't want to weigh more than you should and have a lot of fat on you, and you don't want to, but you don't want to weigh too little either, because then your body ends up burning muscle, and it can lead to serious health problems. So you want to make sure that you try to keep a balanced diet.